And I think this second phase is going to be far, far more rapid than what we experienced in the last 9 years of being long gold and silver assets.
Bob, I have a question for you. I mean, we've seen the stock market go to 14,000. I know 10,000 is their magic number. They like 10,000. They're pushing for 10,000. But when we saw the market go to 14,000, we also saw gold rise at the same time. Are we going to see the markets continue to rise here past 10,000?
I don't think so. It's climbing a wall that is being assisted with government intervention, and there's honestly no way of telling where it's going until there is a bad event. Now, next month,
yes,
half the people in the country are going to refuse to take those flu shots, and also we're going to have the dollar visiting 71.18 from 76.35 or wherever the heck it is right now, and those two issues are going to cause a lot of trouble. The politics are upside down. They now have 289 sponsors. They only need one more to be veto-proof in the House of Representatives. So that's coming up here in about another week. It's going to come out of committee and be debated. And this is a big event. The Illuminati is furious. I mean, they don't know what to do. They're running around trying to stop this thing, and thus far they have been unsuccessful. I don't think they thought it would ever gain the momentum that it has. It has about 90% of the people who have been polled want them investigated. So there's lots of bad stuff for the bad guys happening in October. It's going to be a wild month.
Well, I got a question for you. Let's say they eliminated the Fed, the Federal Reserve. I mean, if you didn't have the right people in Washington to carry it through, couldn't that be a positive for them to turn this and to complete the globalization, to have the global government, to have the global currency, to have everything else global? Because you're basically shutting down the most powerful of the central banks?
Mm-hmm. You're right. There is that possibility that once defeated, that they just stack the House in the Treasury Department, and then our next move would be to challenge everything the Treasury Department did, and essentially tie them up in knots. And if they're going to continue to do what the Fed has done, then we're going to have to go after them as well. But, they have to answer to Congress. And if the Fed is disbanded by legislation, then there's going to be a lot more transparency than there has previously if this job of the monetary aspects of our society are handed back to the Treasury. And they would have to drag out the old rules that the Treasury worked by and decide whether they wanted to change them or not, and so on and so forth.
Okay. I got a question in from Jason. He wants to know what the difference is between the ounces held by the COMEX warehouses registered and the ounces held by the COMEX warehouses eligible.
One of them is for sale and the other one is not. And I can't remember which it is. But I don't know that it's really relevant because they're lying about all their figures. We know through my sources that they had to deliver a lot of gold over the last several months, and they borrowed gold from the European Central Bank, and they borrowed gold from Canada. We know that. And so it doesn't matter what they say. Right now they're reporting the same inventory they were reporting 3 or 4 months ago. And so none of the reporting that's being done by the exchange is real. It's just like the CPI and the PPI and the unemployment. They're all lies. So we really don't know. I think the COMEX doesn't have very much gold and silver left. And if that was not the case, they wouldn't be offering to pay people off in ETF shares, which, you know, you can then go and sell. The operative situation would be you would go and get those shares, and then you would go to the ETF and say, here's your shares, I want my money. I want my gold. And they would have to deliver it if they have it. I don't think the ETFs, GLD and SLV, have what they say they have. They may, excuse me, they may have some, but I think in the case of SLV, probably 75% of their long position is in derivatives. It's just a guess, but that's my guess. With GLD, I think they've loaned out to the U.S. government a large percentage of what they're supposed to have in gold. It's been sold into the market, and there's no way they're going to get it back. So I expect 3 scandals: the SLV, the GLD, and the COMEX. And this could take the COMEX under. And that's why we tell people, if you're going to get a forward contract, take delivery. If they're going to give you shares, we'll run over there and get rid of the shares and get your gold or silver and, you know, take delivery of it rather than hold the shares. Because I think, in the end, people are going to get stuck. And somebody got to be blamed. And it'll probably be, you know, one of the executives. I mean, we just saw a couple of days ago, chief planner for Rockefeller's investments committed suicide. Well, tell me another. There's something I think went wrong with Rockefeller's holdings. And I think what they did was get this guy out of the way. I mean, they don't stop at anything.
Here's a question in about the Obama administration, the Sotero administration, has privately concluded that a cap in trade would cost American taxpayers up to $200 billion a year, the equivalent of hiking personal income taxes by 15%. Are they still going to ram it through Congress?
They're sure going to try, because it's 2 legs on a 3-legged stool. And my figures came out to 20%. It's devastating. It's a stealth tax that the poor ignorant in America don't understand. And they're going to try their best to get it through. It's in the Senate, and I don't know what's going to happen. I just don't. I don't have a feel for it. And I know a lot of senators are very concerned that they're not going to get reelected, and they know the public doesn't want cap and trade. So we'll just have to see. I think the best way to feel it out is to write to your write to your senator and say, I don't want cap and trade. I don't want any more taxes. And that's it. And if everybody in the country did that, all eligible voters, then I would think that we would have some real second thoughts in the Senate about trying to pass it. There obviously is problems already, otherwise it would have been passed. See, I think the Illuminists understand that the window of opportunity for the current president is very limited, probably to the end of the year. After that, they're not going to get any legislation passed. They think that, and I think that too. So that's why the rush and the big push and so on. And that's why the trouble is the way the trouble is with these bills not gaining any momentum at all. I mean, the new proposal is dead on arrival by Baucus in relation to health reform. I mean, they've already announced that this morning. So the longer they don't vote on health reform, the better off we are. And the same thing with cap and trade, because eventually they'll die. What we do want is H.R. 1207, and we want that passed in the Senate. There's 23 sponsors there. We need to work on the Senate and tell them we want the bill, and let's get it on. And so that'll help us immensely.